So, Vasily, how have our growth forecasts changed since the last report in the spring?
Well, actually, we have revised our growth forecast for half of the countries. So that means that the economic dynamics in the region or in large parts of the region remains vibrant, but the growth will not be as high as last year in many countries. And especially for two countries, we expect a very sharp slowdown of growth, that is Romania and Turkey. And for most Central European countries, we expect a mild deceleration. So the only countries where we really expect an upswing, and in some cases a substantial upswing, are countries in the Western Balkans, or most countries of the Western Balkans, and also parts of the CIS.
How worried are we about a possible global trade war, and to what extent would this affect our region?
Well, especially the countries of Central and East Europe are strongly export dependent, and the car industry plays an important role in most of these countries. So that means that the high import tariffs on cars, which have been threatened by President Trump, may affect the region substantially, because either these countries are exporting cars directly to the United States, or they're involved in global production value chains. That means that they're supplying, for instance, inputs for cars, or they're assembling cars. And that means that if President Trump decides to impose high import tariffs on cars from the European Union, many of these countries will be affected, and in particularly Slovakia and Hungary, where the estimated losses may reach as much as or almost 1 percentage point of GDP.
And how important is investment in driving growth in the region at the moment?
Investments is one of the major growth drivers throughout the region. So investment in fixed capital accounts for about half of GDP growth in half of the countries of the region. And in different parts of the region, the underlying reasons are different. In Central European countries, it is especially the EU transfers which play a big role, especially as far as investments into public infrastructure is concerned. Although I must say that the double-digit growth figures of investments which we observed last year will not be repeated this year. Why? Because last year, 2017, was the last year where these countries could absorb funds from the multi-annual financial framework for 2007-2013. So this year, this will no longer be possible. But nevertheless, even so, the EU transfers are important for Central European countries. And in the case of the Western Balkan countries, it is especially foreign direct investment, which plays an increasingly important role, because West Balkan countries, and especially Serbia, are increasingly seen as an alternative to Central European countries, which are becoming more and more expensive and are experiencing severe labor shortages.